we are so disconnected from nature and that we do not go outside enough and we don't revel in the beauty of nature. And for those of us with kids, we're blessed at least to have children who oftentimes can ground us, both physically and literally. And they remind us that, oh, look, there is an ant crawling on the sidewalk. Or, there is a dandelion and you can blow the seeds into the wind kind of thing.
And that's where the healing happens. We remember childhood being so magical. It's no different. Nothing's changed out in your yard. You got a tiny yard? Go play in it. I don't care. I'm 49. Go sit by a tree. Look at it. Appreciate it. Think about maybe it's appreciating you back, I mean, when I was little, I had a best tree friend. Yeah. We need those again.
Let me ask you something. Did you ever listen to an episode of Ma'am and wish you could keep the conversation going? That, my friends, is why we created the Modern Ancestral Mamas Patreon community.
When you join our Patreon community, you're not just supporting the podcast, you're gaining access to a private community of like-minded women who are navigating ancestral living in the modern world right alongside you. As a member, you'll receive free ebooks and downloadable resources, including things like cookbooks and practical guides to help you actually implement what we talk about all the time on the show.
You'll also get exclusive Q&As with Christine and I, and sometimes with our guests, where we answer your personal questions and go deeper into the topics that matter most to you. Plus, you'll hear the bonus content that we have with our guests, extra conversations, and insights you won't find anywhere else.
If you are craving that connection, more support, and more depth, then we want you to join us. Head over to patreon.com/Modern Ancestral Mamas and come be a part of the community. Welcome to Modern Ancestral Mamas. We are Corey and Christine, two millennial moms on a mission to bring ancestral wisdom to modern motherhood. Today's conversation is with a woman who has an incredible story of resilience, healing, and the power deep nourishment has to change a life. So for any MAM listeners that are struggling with complex diseases and they've been told that there's absolutely no hope for you, you have to keep listening because you are not going to want to miss out on today's conversation. But before we start, I know, guys, we have to pause and remind everybody to please rate the show. Go give us a 5-star rating if you feel called to. Review the show. Leave a comment. We read all of the comments. We absolutely love them. They're fantastic. And it's what helps the show get seen, and it helps the algorithm bump us up, and it's a free way to support us. So please go rate and review and comment. And so now, without further ado, let's welcome Bethany Harst from Harst Homestead to Modern Ancestral Mamas.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here, guys.
Oh, good. I'm so glad you're here with us. We start the show usually with a icebreaker question, and we'll all answer it sort of round table. So we can all take turns answering it. And the question for today is, what is something that you did for yourself today?
I went and sat under our giant willow oak and looked up and absolutely appreciated the beauty and the green light coming through from the sun.
Oh, wow. That sounds absolutely dreamy. Oh, my goodness. Okay. What is something that I did today for myself? To be honest, this morning was kind of a rush, but something that I did today was I met up with a friend for tea, and we had a really lovely chat about homeschooling, and she was asking me questions about homeschooling and, healing kids. And it was really nice to sit and talk to another mom friend. So
how beautiful.
That's something that I have done for myself so far. All right. Sorry about that, ma'am listeners. For some reason, Corey's internet is being a little wonky. So hopefully she'll join in on the conversation in a little bit. But if not, then I will just lead the way on this one. Bethany, can you tell us how many kids you have and their ages? We like to start every conversation with a little bit of background.
So we have one son, and he's 23 years old.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Whoa.
He just turned 23. So
wow, that's amazing. And can you give us a little backstory that for our listeners who are not familiar with who you are and your history, how did you get to where you are today?
So it all started, as is the story for many people. I was a mom and had a sick kid. So when my son was 14, he had a serious attempt. He is a bilateral self-inflicted gunshot wound survivor.
Whoa.
So we needed to recover from a traumatic brain injury. We needed to figure out how to be blind because he lost his sight. And we needed to figure out how to get at the mental health angle. And I was kind of flying solo on that one. My husband and I were not married at the time. And he recovered beautifully from the traumatic brain injury. He learned how to be the best blind guy ever. He went from losing his sight to 5 years later teaching the blind how to use their technology. He lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We are such small town people. He went to school there. They dropped him off in the middle of town and told him to find his way back because that was just part of the program, you know. And he has no sight at all. So he really recovered in so many ways beautifully. But I didn't know about the microbiome, and I didn't know about the nervous system then. I knew about, you know, your gut health, like what everybody knows. Take some probiotics and eat some salad and everything will be okay. So he continued to get more ill in ways that we couldn't control or understand at the time. So his microbiome was becoming more and more compromised because he wasn't eating well. He wasn't getting the sunshine. He had an autism diagnosis. So he had some inappropriate responses socially, had serious anger issues. Now that I know what I know, he was probably working toward or had PANS pandas. Seriously dysregulated nervous system. And then when he was 20, because he is an overachiever, he got COVID, bacterial, meningitis, and sepsis all at one time in 1 month. And we went through that. We couldn't see him in the beginning. So, you know, he was in COVID isolation and an ICU. So we couldn't see him. We didn't interact with him until he was, I believe, 10 days out. Then they put him in a private room. Then we got to see him, and he had no memory.
Oh my gosh.
He had no memory. It was like it was completely wiped clean. So
wait, pause. So no memory of even being able to learn, because you said he learned all the technologies for being blind. So no memory of that either?
He, at that point, no, I don't think he could have even used his own phone.
Oh, wow.
No, so what I did know, of course, is he had developed out of what he had been through in that month of, you know, extreme antibiotics and just the COVID, the virus itself, and the sepsis and the bacterial meningitis. He had developed dysautonomia. So when he came home, he came home and had to go back, and that's when the sepsis developed. So 2 weeks of COVID and bacterial meningitis, comes home, gets sepsis, must go back, home health for 2 weeks. He, at this point, is sleeping 18 hours a day. I have him like lifting a pint jar of water, and that's all he can do. He's got POTS at this point, so he stands up, which is not, it's not always, I mean, you don't have to be standing up for your heart rate to accelerate, but his would be like in the 200s just from standing up. He didn't know his way to his own bathroom. He didn't know who I was. He would call me a doctor or a nurse.
Wow.
And the interesting part of the story is we didn't have any answers. It wasn't that people weren't trying or, neurologists weren't looking at him. They just had no idea. It wasn't like a normal COVID memory loss. It was a complete memory loss. And as time went on, we realized it was an accessing issue. It wasn't a true amnesia.
Oh, interesting. I was going to ask if it was true amnesia.
Yeah. So it wasn't a true amnesia. So I did what I think a lot of people do. I was that person online. I went to the Weston A. Price Facebook group, which I didn't really know about Weston A. Price at the time. And I was like, oh, people here know things.
Wait, how'd you find it?
I don't even remember. I was just constantly, that's what I did with the TBI. I just learned. Yeah. You just scour. Mm-hmm. So I wrote the giant long post that you always see.
Yeah.
And a woman replied, she messaged me and she said, she's a dear friend now. She said, come to my office. I'd like to speak to you. And I was like, oh man, I don't really want to go visit somebody, but I know that God wants me to, so I'm going to have to. So I went and met her and she told me how she was using nutrition and lifestyle for her own daughter and how she recovered. And at this time, his general practitioner, we haven't had one follow-up as far as like neurology or anything like that. And then his general practitioner, moves out west with no one to take over his practice.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like just empty space for us. And I just got busy. And, he now will be able to live on his own.
Wow.
And that was the biggest goal. His memory is not perfect. We are still currently working on like a puzzle piece of our health, but he is so incredibly vibrant and so healthy in a million ways. And he is at the point now where he knows that he doesn't have a perfect memory. So he just lives off a system of schedules and reminders. And he does continue to get better. It's only been 2.5 years. So I'm just excited to see where he's going to go.
Wow. Oh my goodness. There's so many questions that I have for your story.
It's a big story.
I'm sure our listeners are on the edge of their seats as well. They're probably flabbergasted. So, okay. I'm trying to think which thread to pull at first. Did the doctors know that it was dysautonomia?
No.
Okay. And I'm wondering if that's a term that they're familiar with.
Maybe now, but I think still, even now, like dysautonomia, MCAS, POTS, chronic fatigue, things like that, I think they're going underdiagnosed just because it's not hit the allopathic education quite yet.
Yeah.
En masse. It has.
Right.
But not,
For anybody who doesn't know what those acronyms mean, do you mind describing them?
So POTS, oh my gosh, was it? I can't remember. Let me look it up. I know it's post something, tachycardia syndrome, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
Okay, wait, say it one more time.
Postural, I'm probably just murdering it, but postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
Okay.
And it's basically, characterized by a rapid heartbeat. You don't have to be standing up, but it does happen when people stand up. They have seizures, but it's not exactly the same kind of seizure that somebody would have with another condition. They're extremely dehydrated. So it's kind of a specialized thing, but it really goes along with other conditions, often like MCAS and dysautonomia. Dysautonomia is an umbrella term for nervous system disorders. So you can have long COVID, and that means you have dysautonomia,
Oh, interesting.
It's just it's a serious nervous system disorder. And then I mentioned CFS, which is chronic fatigue syndrome. That's
Okay.
a mitochondrial failure nervous system issue as well.
MCAS.
And MCAS is mast cell activation syndrome.
Okay.
And your mast cells are responsible for your histamines. And so if they are working overtime, then you can just be high histamine all the time. It can be from two different sides of things, but you are basically, I had it too, because I also had dysautonomia, but you might break out in hives. You're the person that always has tissues. You are constantly allergic to everything. You're popping Benadryl. And then when it's really advanced, it's the food sensitivities, not sleeping sort of thing.
Okay. And it sounds like one of the root causes of all of these is the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So something is happening within the nervous system. And what do you think is causing that? At least in your personal case.
I believe all of these disorders are a disconnect from nature. And so you're not eating nature's foods. You're not being outdoors. You're not in community. You are isolated. You're overworking. You're being a perfectionist. It's, I would say most, that might be too broad, but I would say a lot of people have some form of nervous system disorder at this point in modernity.
Yeah. And so when your son was younger, up until that age 14, would you like standard American diet, living fairly, I guess, conventionally, normally? Were there any signs that he was trending towards mental illness or, wanting to take his life? Anything like that?
So early on, he was always sensitive, but he was very good. He was always good, and he was always kind, and he wasn't ever like a troublemaker or, getting into drugs or anything like that. He was always very kind and thoughtful, but he was very sensitive. And as I had undiagnosed autism, I didn't recognize his. I just thought, well, that behavior is normal because I did it. But I had CPTSD. So that's complex post-traumatic stress syndrome. And PTSD is from usually a single or maybe a couple events, but the complex is when it's long-term. So for me, I just had a very, very difficult childhood. Mm-hmm. And went on to make very difficult choices for myself, because when we come from a difficult place, we tend to choose difficult situations because they feel like home. Mm-hmm. So I would say that I was not able to probably recognize warning signs that other people could have probably easily seen. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have support really. So it was kind of just me and me and Pagel is his name, Pagel. And I would say I noticed difficulties as he got older. But it wasn't really until probably 3 months before the attempt that I was starting to get very worried. And we were taking steps, to try to support mental health, which just wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't enough. And so, it was very difficult and complicated.
Yeah, right.
Oh, and I would say we were a fairly standard American diet, to answer that part of things.
Okay. Yeah, because you've mentioned now a couple times the microbiome, mm-hmm. and how you feel like that had an impact on some of his healing and maybe health issues. Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yes. When we have overgrowths, it's so we should have good microbes, we should have opportunistic microbes, and they should be in a symbiotic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
If the opportunistic are overgrown, then that's where we have problems like food cravings for donuts that you just can't stop. It's not your fault. It's the microbes.
Yeah, right.
They're loud.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have pathogens. So we have pathogens that maybe come in for a time and then leave, and a person that's very resilient and has all their good microbes built up, especially like the birth microbes.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, if we are on a standard American diet and if our nervous systems are really out of whack, that microbiome is just going to get more and more compromised.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just not going to be resilient enough to handle anything, really. We're not going to be resilient enough to handle a big trauma, but we're also not going to be resilient enough to, get our feelings hurt at all, or be able to go to work consistently, or it really affects every aspect of your life. Your microbiome makes your feel-good chemicals. It makes your nutrients for you. Mm-hmm. So if you're a human being that is basically starving because you don't have nutrients in your cells, your nervous system constantly thinks you're in danger, you're really going to have issues out of that. You're not making dopamine. You're not making serotonin. You're not making oxytocin.
Mm-hmm.
You feel really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, most definitely. And it sounds like you worked on his microbiome to help heal him. Maybe go into a little bit of, give us a picture of what were some of the steps you did to help heal your son.
In the beginning, we chose the wisdom of Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. That's where we started. I got the books and read them obsessively.
Yeah.
And then I had the honor of working with Becky Plotner, who was a practitioner, very, very sweet, wonderful, beautiful human. I lived in the same town as her.
Oh my gosh, you're so lucky. Wow.
Yes. So I got to experience life with her for a little while. I got to go to her meetings and, get her joy and her wisdom. So we started there. We were so blessed to not have food sensitivities. So we had all the die off. When you start shifting your microbiome, folks, you can have die off if you don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, what does that look like? What did that look like for you guys?
Yeah, when so I was mentioning like the pathogens and the opportunistic overgrowths, they want to live just as much as we do. They don't want to die. And when they start dying, they make you feel terrible. So you'll be like, oh, just have a piece of sourdough. I'll give them their food. They'll be happy. Die-off can look like, and did look like for us, very irregular bowel movements. You can lean more towards diarrhea or constipation. You can have vomiting. You can have melancholy. You can have anger. You can have utter exhaustion, which we experienced all of that. So we did the food. We did meat stock. We did raw milk kefir. We did ferments. And we just kept him there for 2 years. I mean, he stayed kind of soft foods, kind of meat on the bone, ground meat. He didn't have any vegetables except for kraut for quite a while. Wow. And then we added them back in probably about a year and a half later.
Okay. So just meat stock and meat.
And he'd have like a tablespoon of kraut or another ferment every day.
Okay.
Mostly. And then he'd have the raw milk kefir as well.
Yeah. And so you were making meat stock constantly.
40 pounds of chicken a week.
Wow. And for the listeners who are not familiar with the difference between meat stock and bone broth, do you want to maybe?
So meat stock is a short cooked meat stock. You want to use meaty bones and you want to cook it for about an hour and a half. Some people do it longer for beef and lamb and things like that, and pork, but we mainly used chicken because it was cost effective.
Yeah.
So we cooked it for an hour and a half, and that was pretty much our life for a year and a half. Now, we didn't just do the soups. We did lots of other foods, especially in the beginning. We really overdid it with the nut flours and the honey.
Oh, interesting.
Because our bodies were like, I need bread and
Yeah.
I need sugar,
Right.
But it was interesting about probably 3 months in, maybe 3 or 4 months in. Now, Pagel did not get that. My husband and I were the ones like eating as degenerates do. But in like 3 months, our bodies were like, I don't want this anymore. And so I know that's not everybody's story, but we were, blessed enough that our bodies kind of was like, okay, we're going to have to stop the gallon of honey a month and stop eating 47,000 nuts a day in the form of pancakes.
Yeah, totally.
So we did more. So we did the whole, you do intro when you do GAP. So we did that. And then we just didn't eat the foods we weren't supposed to eat. We mainly did ground meat. We mainly did organs and meat on the bone and the cultured dairy. And in the beginning, we didn't know this, but as I started listening to Mary Ruddick podcasts, and it really deepened our healing. Because when you are doing a healing path DIY on your own, you're just going to make mistakes, and that's okay. You're going to heal if you keep going. I'll tell you that right now. That's the story. I don't care how people approach it. You keep going, you are going to heal. So then after discovering Mary Ruddick, we made some more changes, as in we cut out high oxalate foods. We cut out nightshades and things like that. So we were able to kind of advance a little bit. And now we're still advancing. We're 2.5 years in and we're still going. And it's a beautiful journey. It's tough, but it's beautiful.
What were some high oxalate foods that you guys were eating that you cut out?
Oh my gosh. We were growing our own everything. So tomatoes and I loved beets. I just love beets. So I was having
and I love beet kvass.
I know. Yes. We can still have like 2 tablespoons a day.
Okay.
But, I don't think we should be drinking like, a gallon a day. We were doing, spinach. We were doing tomatoes.
Okay.
Peppers. That's not high oxalate though. That's the nightshade.
Yeah.
But I did start the process of oxalate dumping as soon as I stopped all plants for a time. And then decided to do my first liver flush when I stopped all plants. And it's funny because as I'm experiencing these extreme body changes, which we can go into, I walked by my bench and I had Sally Norton's book about oxalate sitting on my bench. And I looked, I was like, I think I need to read that now.
Yeah.
Because I really had no idea about them at the time. I don't think I had even discovered Mary at this time. This was just from a fast from the liver flush and then removing plants altogether. So my body was like, woo.
Okay.
Let's get rid of these guys.
Did you end up adding in any probiotics or, because I know Mary talks a lot about the microbiome and obviously the birth microbes. So did you find that you needed to go in and add some of these that might have been lost from like antibiotics, for example, or things like that? If you love Modern Ancestral Mamas, we want to invite you to come a little closer. We've officially opened our Modern Ancestral Mamas Patreon community. And this isn't just about bonus content, it's about connection.
This is a space for mamas who are questioning modern norms, reclaiming ancestral wisdom, and wanting to have real, honest conversations without judgment. Inside this community, you'll connect with like-minded women Dive deeper into the topics we cover on the podcast and get access to exclusive bonus episode content, discussions, and behind-the-scenes conversations with Christine and I.
Patreon is where the podcast becomes a circle, kind of like a little circle of trust, a place to ask questions, share wins, process challenges, and remember that moms, you are not doing this alone. If Modern Ancestral Mamas has ever made you feel seen or supported or inspired, and we've heard from so many of you in the comment section of our podcast that it has, then please join us on Patreon and become part of the community we've been building all along.
You can find the link in the show notes, and we'd love to welcome you in. You can also just go straight to patreon.com/Modern Ancestral Mamas.
Yes. Now, in the very beginning, we did a spore spore probiotic for Pagel. And I just kind of was of the understanding that the ferments would do it. So for a long time, we just did the ferments. And ferments alone used to do it if you were very healthy. And we were very not. So we did start adding things in. I started making single microbe yogurts as I would hear her talk about them on podcasts. And so we have been kind of in that process. And now we're also kind of taking a break from that because of her latest podcast about kind of hitting it at a little different angle. And kind of bringing in the food for those birth microbes, seeing what, your body will just respond with, and going from there. So, but that's like happening right now. So I can't give you any updates at this time.
Yeah, no, actually, I have not listened to that podcast yet. Another friend just told me about it, and she was telling me how, yes, she's going in a lot. She discusses a lot about the importance of feeding the microbes. And if you're not actually feeding the microbes, then they're just going to be eating at your gut lining. So what are some prebiotic foods that you've started adding in?
We have been doing green plantains for a while because she had mentioned that. Now I'm working on a document. It won't be Mary Reddick wisdom, obviously, but just kind of through my own research to see what I can find out there. What birth microbes do we know about? And then what is their best food? So it may not be exactly right, but I think it'll be a really good start until she can release her information for us. Because she does say in that podcast that she'll be releasing like a ton of information. She's just hard at work on it.
Yeah. As I'd say, I know that this is a passion project of hers. So just so our listeners, because we have a lot of Mary Reddick obsessed listeners, but yeah, I know. Same. Which is the most recent podcast that she's been on?
Jesse Chasup. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Yeah. Do honor to his name, but.
Okay. All right.
It's good. It's about, it's almost 2 hours and it's very helpful. I would take notes. I took notes.
Yeah. Okay, folks. So we'll put that in the show notes, and definitely you can go and listen to Mary. So what about, I'm actually really curious to hear about how he learned to live life as a blind person, being previously a seeing individual, and what that transition is like.
It's kind of amazing. You're watching the brain heal. I mean, he had the TBI, but you're watching the brain heal because sight is really, it's in the brain, It's not just to your eyes. In fact, I mean, there are young children in India that are taught to read through a blindfold. So, and there's been plenty of times when I've said, "Hey, Pagel, what color is that cat?" And he'll say gray. And I'm like, think you're faking.
Does he get it right?
He gets it right. Yeah. Not every time, but more than you would expect. Wow. So it always just makes me wonder. And the body is so mysterious. And so we're fearfully and wonderfully made. So I just wonder what you can see without your eyes. I think there's probably a lot more to it. The way that he learned, so we kind of made it up as we went. he used a correspondence school called Hadley. They send you Braille and you learn to read through the mail. It was very cool, very like 80s. It was awesome. He became efficient. I would say he's probably still not proficient in Braille, but he types very well, and he just reads a little slow, but he knows all Braille.
Okay.
He had training for O&M, which is orientation and mobility, which is learning how to walk with a cane and using your surroundings to orient yourself. We winged a lot of it. We just kind of made stuff up as we went along, and he developed his own methods for things. He was always interested in technology, so that was kind of a priority. I was worried about his mental health during his recovery, and it was never a problem. But I still wanted to always keep him interested and keep things happening, in our lives. So the amount of services that we were gifted was incredible. The school that he went to for 9 months in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I think it's closed now, but that was 9 months of intensive training. He went to multiple camps, groups, and I mean, at the end of the day, you learn these skills, but even if you were like a person in a cabin in the woods, you would figure it out. It's amazing. I think we tend to think that it's the same as if we close our eyes, but it's not. They're in the dark every day, and your body just adapts because, the human body is amazing.
So resilient. That's incredible. And this might be a silly question, but we are told in the ancestral healing world how important sunlight is, and you have to go out in the first morning light and things like that. Does it still affect the brain and work with the hormone production, even if you can't physically see the sunlight? Do you know?
Absolutely. Okay. It absolutely is. It's the same as like if we have to go out in the gloom and doom or whatever, people are always like, it's cloudy, I can't go out. No, go out. Yeah. The sun, it's getting sun in your eyes and on your skin. And I don't know that his eye would receive light because he only has one eye. Okay. And the one that he has can't see. So I don't know how it would receive light, but I know his entire body is receiving light. Okay. And I know there's Dr. Norman Doidge has 2 books out, and they're both about how the way the brain heals itself. And I'll just wreck it if I say it, but they're 2 books about how the brain heals, and they're amazing. They're fascinating. They're beautiful. They give you a million kind of starting points for your own research or therapies if that's the route, if you have the budget for that sort of thing. But when the brain, let's say you get an injury and these cells die, well, the cells around that dead area, if encouraged, will do the job of those dead cells in a lot of the cases. And your brain can just learn to pick up for parts of it that aren't functioning properly. It's an amazing, the brain's amazing.
It basically rewires, I'm guessing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm looking at my computer right now, and there's no Braille bumps on it, but I remember previous computers used to have Braille bumps on them. Mm-hmm. So does he just have a specialized computer, or even a phone, like a smartphone, has no Braille on it? So how does an individual learn how to use a smartphone or computers, things like that?
So he luckily already knew how to touch type. So that using a keyboard was not really a problem for him. Okay. However, if you didn't know how to do it, then they're like voiceover software that you can put on your computer, you can turn on your phone, and that's for Android or iPhone. And everything will be audio. So if I hit G, it's going to say G and H, I, sort of thing.
Okay.
So you know what you've hit, and it's going to read everything on your screen. When he uses his phone, he actually does use Braille because he keeps his screen curtain on. It's always black. But he turns it around and he's like tapping like this, and it's the Braille dots, the 6 Braille dots.
Okay.
And so it's just, iPhone is amazing for the blind.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely amazing for the blind. So he can do anything on our phone that, we can do, that you and I can do. It's just all audible.
Okay. That is fascinating. I had no idea. Wow. And has he ever, have you guys gone down the service pet route, or you're just sticking with, a walking stick for mobility?
He's not interested. I am the live in the woods, wear moss on my hair and pet the deer. And he's like, I don't want any part of that. You're such a weirdo. He's always been an inside child, and now he is an inside adult. He is out for some time right now, but it's on his schedule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not going hiking by himself. However, he is also very interested and was getting pretty good at it before he got sick, in something called echolocation. Oh. And there is a gentleman named Daniel Kish, who is like the superstar of echolocation, and he travels to 40 countries and teaches other blind people to do it. There's different ways to do it, but the most popular way is to make a click with your mouth. Mm-hmm. And then you can tell what's near you, how far away something is, as long as you practice it. I mean, you have to practice it. But, like Daniel Kish can tell you what's in front of him. So you put like a bowl there, and he'll click, and he'll be like, oh, it's a bowl, with touching it. So you can also use sound for sight.
Yeah. Wow. So basically using what whales do. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know humans could learn that. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So incredible. And so now you said your son is teaching blind people?
He was before he got sick.
Okay.
He is not currently.
Okay. Wow. And so what happened? How did he get sick? And with all three of those issues at the same time?
Well, and that really goes back to his compromised microbiome, because I know now, like looking back, I can see things that, of course, I couldn't see at the time. Mm-hmm. And one big indicator was the autism, which is connected to a compromised microbiome.
Yeah.
And then the way he was if you met him, you would not think, oh, that's an angry person. But if you tried to help him on the street, he might yell at you. Mm. And it was becoming like a problem. It was increasing over time, and he was losing weight. So what was happening is his terrain was failing. His pathogens, streptococcus, mainly in his state, maybe a few more, but we do know streptococcus because of the bacterial meningitis.
Yeah.
And then the opportunistic overgrowths were, making it kind of impossible to feel like a human. So he was so compromised, and then he would have gotten COVID. So he contracted the COVID first, and then that could just put his immune system on the floor, so that streptococcus, which already existed in him, could, have a party. And it had its little party. And then they did what they normally do. They had 2 weeks of an IV antibiotic and broad spectrum antibiotics on top of that. I know. And then he came home, and we went to the emergency room for a completely unrelated problem. Thank God. Mm-hmm. And they were like, he still has bacterial meningitis in his cerebral spinal fluid. So he's septic. So he could have easily not have been here. Yeah. A million times at this point, right? But
yeah.
The sepsis could have really done some damage. So
he is quite a fighter.
I know.
Wow. Oh my goodness. And so I'm wondering, I've also heard you talk about the Ancestral Regeneration Protocol. Mm-hmm. And do you want to share a little bit about that?
I would love to. So the story goes, after we lost Becky, we would not have been able to use Becky's services, indefinitely. The world of naturopathy, the world of working one-on-one with people it's expensive because insurance won't cover it. It's no fault of the practitioners.
Wait, just to clarify for our listeners, she's referring Becky Plotner.
Yes,
unfortunately, she passed away a few years ago.
Thank you.
So go ahead, keep going.
We were just kind of doing it on our own. And I think that's a lot of people's story now. They're doing it on their own. And it was natural for me to share what we were doing online, just on my Facebook page. Nothing, wasn't doing anything major at that time. But I was sharing successes with people because when I learned what you could regenerate from, I was like, what? We can heal this stuff? This is amazing. So I thought everybody would want to know. Number one, that is not the case. Not everybody wants to know. I found that out because people online can say things in all caps.
Oh, totally.
But number two, some people do want to know. And I just naturally wanted to share. So then I went down the Mary Reddick rabbit hole, and I'm listening to every podcast, and I'm taking notes, and I'm applying things, and I'm seeing results pretty quickly because we had already done all this amazing work. So we just needed some tweaks. If you were working with someone, you probably would have already been told a lot of those tweaks, but we didn't know. So then I was listening to one of her podcasts, and she said, I need to figure out a way to get all this information into all the households. And I was like, I can do that. So I just created a Facebook group, and I was going to call it Ancestral Rebirthing Protocol, but my husband came up with the regeneration part, and I like that better.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm no Mary Reddick. I'm no Jen Donovan is another practitioner that I just think is absolutely wonderful. I'm not, a practitioner of any kind, but at that point I'd had over 2,000 hours of study in already just from, independent study. And I made a decision. I can go get an official education from like a holistic nutritionist standpoint, which will teach me a lot of stuff that I know is not correct especially for a chronically ill person. And it's going to waste my time. And honestly, it's going to waste my money. That's not the case for everybody, but this was my personal decision. And I thought, I've gone this far on my own. I think I can keep going on my own and really help people. And even if I can't give you the perfect nuance for your condition, I'll always try to help troubleshoot things, but I can give you the foundation. And it's always at no cost. There's always going to be support at no cost, somebody to answer your questions and help you along the difficult parts.
And so what is the Ancestral Regeneration Protocol? So, if you want to just, you don't have to go into a lot of detail, but just give people a highlight.
It can be overwhelming if we go too deep. Basically, all I'm doing is teaching you how to get in the sun, what to eat and what not to eat, how to begin the process of balancing your hormones, your microbiome, removing the most harmful things and adding, giving you that reconnect with nature. So teaching you that grounding is not silly. It's really important. Teaching you that rest is not something to put off. It's sacred and you absolutely have to have it, and you need to be sleeping well. You need to be connected with the food. So I once heard that we don't eat what our ancestors ate. We eat how they ate. And so that's what we teach. If it was 500 years ago and you're sitting in your yard right now, or where your apartment is, or whatever your living situation is, and it was 500 years ago, what would you have to eat? It would not be what we eat. So it would not be. And so how can we mimic that in the modern world? Of course, I realize that nobody's out hunting. I'm in Georgia, so I'd be eating squirrels and chipmunks and deer and, whatever else. But I do not hunt, believe it or not. So, but how can we mimic that? Well, we can have animal protein, and we can have animal fat, and we can have the vegetables and the plants, we can use plants as medicine, and we can use them strategically to heal. We don't really use them as food necessarily. You're using the animal products as food, and the plants are, they're helpful. Sorry.
No, that's
There's
okay.
an announcement.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm really big on reverence. I think reverence is, in whatever that looks like for you, in the way that I organize and share my information, I put, options for people, but I think reverence is extremely important. So it will start with how I would do things, and then it'll have an option for somebody that would do things differently for me, and then it would have an option for somebody who maybe is not even ready to talk to God at this time. But you can still go out and sit by a tree and have absolute reverence for nature. And we use gratitude. I'm really big on removing things from your life that don't serve you, especially online. So no excitatory things. If you're following someone who is dysregulated and not healed, and it doesn't bother you, and you can kind of separate the information from the behavior, that's fine. But if you're constantly thinking, oh, I need to do something different, or, oh, I haven't done this good enough, or I need to eat this instead, I need to switch and I need to do this, then, it's time to take a break from all of that. So it's really about reconnecting with nature and creating a safe space so that your body can heal, because your body has to be safe before it can begin the healing process.
Yeah. I've based on a lot of the podcasts that I've heard from Mary Reddick, the safety piece is really important for dysautonomia. And I've heard her say before that you have to do everything at the same time every day, really give yourself that regimented schedule. And that's what helps your body lean into the safety piece and relax a little bit.
Yes.
So that's such a good point. And going back to the reverence thing, I completely agree. I think that we are so disconnected from nature, and that we do not go outside enough, and we don't revel in the beauty of nature. And for those of us with kids, we're blessed at least to have children who oftentimes can ground us, both physically and literally. And they remind us that, oh, look, there is an ant crawling on the sidewalk, or, there is a dandelion and you can blow the seeds into the wind, kind of thing.
And that's where the healing happens. We remember childhood being so magical. It's no different. Nothing's changed out in your yard. You got a tiny yard? Go play in it. I don't care. I'm 49. Go sit by a tree. Look at it. Appreciate it. Think about maybe it's appreciating you back, I mean, when I was little, I had a best tree friend. Yeah. We need those again.
Yeah. Oh, man. So it sounds like your Ancestral Regeneration Protocol is a whole bunch of different strategies, obviously food being a big piece, and nature and sunlight and grounding being a big piece, to help people with either dysautonomia or POTS, or I think you also said illness. any illness, to just try and heal.
I until you can believe it, I believe for you that you can turn things around for yourself. So I'll believe it until everybody else can believe it for themselves. Because if you're not making your GABA, you're going to think, I'm the worst case ever. I can't heal. And that's okay. You can think that, and I'll just think the good stuff for you until you get here. We turn around the limbic system, which the limbic system is how you think about things. So if you say like, oh, my job is killing me, then you're listening to that. You can say something like, oh, my job is difficult today, and I'm grateful for my job. Both of those things can be true. So one is harmful, one is not. We do somatic work. Because of my CPTSD, it was very important for me to learn how to, and teach other people how to release trauma. And we do everything on a schedule, but it's, it's a rhythm. Life would have happened in a rhythm, and we are rhythmic creatures. So we definitely teach to get back into a rhythm that works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. You said something earlier that I found super profound, which was, I'm trying to think how you phrased it, but basically that everybody can heal.
Mm-hmm.
And we are all healing. And I think that can offer so much hope to the individuals who have been told, especially by practitioners, that, well, there's nothing we can do for you, or you're just going to have to be on this medication for the rest of your life, or, insert whatever. And it sounds like through your experience, you have seen that that's not the case, that
No,
it
it's
is
not the case.
possible to heal.
You can go to YouTube and listen to survival stories. You can hear, my husband once told me about a gentleman who was dying on Mount Everest, and Everest is cold and you do die up there. That's a fact.
Yeah.
But he just thought about his family, and he was able to move, and he got down by himself.
Yeah.
That is in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
That is not, God didn't give that to 4 people and not 4 people. That is in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to really feel it or believe it or think it in the beginning. It will come naturally. You will go through such a profound transformation that you will begin to have reverence for your own body and its ability to regenerate if you make it safe and you allow it to. That's where the magic happens. You allow it to. And we all need a species appropriate diet. We all need, we all need sunlight. There's just a foundation that we all need.
Mm-hmm.
Your path is going to be nuanced, but by the time you feel good, your intuition's going to return, and things will appear in your path that are appropriate for you.
Mm.
And you will get there if you just keep going one little step at a time. That's all you have to do. That's your big responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. So in your opinion, do you think we absolutely need practitioners to help us heal?
I think that we have always had a need for someone to help us. Let's look at maybe medicine women and medicine men of the past. Let's look at priests or other leaders. So I think there's something to that. I think we're in a space now where it's very difficult. I don't think there's enough practitioners. And honestly, I don't think we can always keep up with how compromised the human being is becoming.
Mm.
And so I think it is excellent to learn how to help yourself and learn how to help your body, assist your body in regeneration, because that's what it does naturally. Your body's never trying to hurt you. It's only trying to save you. And then in the future, after, you've done a million things, maybe sometimes you do need help. And I think that's perfectly human and natural. And we were born for community, and we do need each other. Mm-hmm. I think there's just a lack of assistance because of the kind of circumstances we're finding ourselves in. Mm-hmm. But if you give yourself a running start and you really get to know you'll be surprised what your own body does tell you. And if it's time for a practitioner, then your body will tell you, I think.
Mm. Yeah. What do you think are some of the most important microbes to focus on?
Oh my goodness, the birth microbes. And don't ask me what they are, because I don't know all of them.
Okay.
But honestly, I mean, I know everybody doesn't like ChatGPT and doesn't like all the AI, but you can use it as a tool and you can use it to your benefit. And it's just basically like a really fast research assistant that can be wrong. But you can easily look up at least the most studied birth microbes, and you can start there,
Yeah.
You can look up what they are. I think probably the most important ones might be different for everybody simply because we don't know what we're missing.
Yeah.
From person to person. I know that you can get a GI map. I also know that's not available for everyone's budget.
Okay.
But that does give you, if it is in your budget, or I would suggest even saving up for it, you can get one 2 years from now. You don't have to get one tomorrow. And that will tell you the one specifically from Rupa Health, which is on Mary's website. She has a link for it. That will tell you what you have, I believe. I would call and make sure because I haven't gotten mine yet, but I believe that'll tell you what you have. And then, but if you're kind of focusing on feeding them all, then over time they should all pop back up, unless you were like second generation C-section or maybe first generation C-section, then you may want to plant them. And I would say just start with one. Start small, see how you feel, and make sure you're feeding it.
Yeah, the birth microbe conversation is so fascinating. I can't wait for Mary to come out with more of her research to share with the public about it. But yeah, that's really good advice. Okay, so you can go and get a test to see which ones you're missing or what you have, and I guess figure out how to feed them or how to reseed them. Is reseeding with? Do you know how you reseed? I don't even know.
Well, we did. We do have a little bit of information in our group already, just from what I've learned from Mary, and I know it's just a tiny part of what she's going to share. But sometimes people ask her like, "What would you start with? What are the 5? Blah blah blah," that sort of thing. And she's mentioned reseeding and things like that. So have that information. If you join Ancestral Regeneration Protocol, it's on Facebook because that's just our platform. It's where we have our following. You read featured posts first if you're going to do the protocol to kind of get an understanding, an overview of it. And then you just go to files and you go week by week. There are alternative beginnings if you have histamine issues, if you're a vegetarian and you're not ready to eat meat yet, that sort of thing. We've got quite a few alternative beginnings. But on week 26, even if you don't want to do the protocol, you can read about some of the microbes that I've heard her mention and just make notes of for people.
Okay. Is this a group that you're asking for payment for, or how can people? Oh, wow.
There's not ever going to be. I am going to start group coaching because so many people have asked. I'm going to start doing that in January. But this is not my information. It's all collected from, the grace and the gifts of other people that have maybe, have a really busy practice, but they take the time to write a book, and somebody like me can go to the library and get it and take notes and get the best of the best information and compile it all and offer it. The gathering of the information can be very overwhelming. So at least I've taken that aspect out, for you. And it's kind of for the most compromised. And so, if you're coming to it and you just have maybe a smaller issue, you could do, maybe a lighter version of it. You might not have to be. So like if you're bedbound or housebound, I would say, your morning routine should be like 4 or 5 hours. And 4 of that should be in the sun.
Yeah.
But if you're still working and you're doing pretty well, you just want to kind of get at some things preemptively, then, you could probably do a morning routine that was an hour, and that's fine, So it's adjustable for you. It's always going to be free. The group coaching, you're only going to pay, it's catered to, there will be scholarships, and it's always going to be catered to low income people. So it's going to be affordable, and you're never paying for the information. The information's always going to be free. You're only going to be paying to let me help you assimilate it, which some people need.
Yeah, that's so incredibly generous of you. Oh my goodness.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be of service.
Yeah. Okay, one more burning question, which is I've heard you mention before that somehow you got gangrene, which I didn't even know people got that anymore. And
It's so scarlet fever.
It is. And you healed your gangrene naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Like, are you kidding me? Okay, now you really have to share all of those details. First of all, how did you get it?
They always say, like, when you're in the difficult moment, don't try to rush it away. Like, when you get to the part of your healing journey where you have to sit with the difficult things and, really see the reverence in it. Well, I wouldn't even be here without getting bitten by a wolf. So.
What?
That sounds way cooler than it was. But
yeah, it
does.
In
the forest. No. I was actually renting a room on a wolf sanctuary. And I didn't.
What wolf sanctuary?
It was outside of Nashville.
Okay.
So I don't remember the name of it. I was actually just renting a room in like this big, huge, beautiful log cabin. So I was like renting a little apartment in that big. And he had a wolf sanctuary, the owner of the home.
Got it.
So I would go see them, but I wasn't like, interacting with them a whole lot. So I had some guests over for the first time. And I crouched down in front of a wolf pen and he reached out. So I was crouched down. So my little knee is poking out like this, right? And so this is my knee. And he goes, wow. And his top teeth, his mouth was so big. His top teeth went in the middle of the top of my thigh. And his bottom teeth went in the bottom of my kneecap.
Right.
So just this big, huge mouth. And when it happened, I was like, that's unfortunate. But I had guests over, right? And
so he punctures your skin. He basically bites you and punctures you.
To the bone.
Oh, my goodness. And you're bleeding, I'm guessing.
Not really at first. No, there actually wasn't ever a lot of blood. That's interesting. I never thought about that. Maybe because it wasn't sharp. I don't know. I don't know the mechanism of that, but now I want to. So because I had my dysregulated nervous system and I was already in fawn and I was a people pleaser, I didn't want to disrupt everybody's good time, right?
Totally. Yep.
So I take my gaping wound to my apartment and I lifted up my skirt so I could see that top wound and I was immediately sick. And I was like, that's bad. That's bad. But we have dinner plans. So let me just pour some peroxide on it, wrap it up, don't tell anybody, and go eat. So that's what I did.
Oh my gosh.
And then when I got home, it had started to turn black because the bruise, right? It was this gaping. It was probably like that big and like that wide. Wow. And it was just I could see my bone. I could see my fat. I could see my muscle. It was terrible. So at this point, I'm using a hot turmeric wash on it. Okay. That's what I'm choosing to do. Now, I don't have insurance, which is really the motivation in all this. It was, I lovingly call myself a peasant. And so it was my peasant budget that had me treating it myself, right? So I'm just treating it. And then I think it was day 2 or day 3, I was cleaning house and I kept going, there is a dead rat in here somewhere. I live in the country, so that happens. And then I sat down and I had a skirt on again and the skirt kind of, moved and the smell hit me and I was like, it's me. Oh my God. So I went down and I sniffed it and I'm like, that's gangrene. I've seen enough Civil War movies to know it's gangrene. So I did a little research and I used garlic. I crushed garlic. And I put it in the wound, crushed garlic and onions. I know now I wouldn't have had to do both, but it certainly didn't hurt. And by that night, the smell was completely gone. Probably 6-7 hours later, smell is completely gone. In 25 days, it was the most beautiful scar. You can barely see it now. It's just a tiny little scar.
This is mind-blowing. Was it the allicin compound in the garlic that you think killed it? Yeah.
Which I didn't know then. I just looked it up really quickly. I didn't even have a smartphone then, so I just looked it up and I was like, I'll try it.
Which for individuals, I have a friend who healed her son's impetigo with allicin. Nice. For people who don't know, if you take garlic and you crush it and then you let it sit for like 10 minutes. I don't know. Do you know the exact amount of time it
I don't
needs?
think
Maybe
you necessarily. I've heard different things. I crush it for sure. I don't necessarily wait, but I'm sure it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
But I definitely crush it. I've also heard that you don't have to, but I do it anyway.
Okay.
That's how I learned.
Yeah. Yeah. It releases the allicin compound. I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah.
But what I'm not sure of is obviously it has very potent healing capabilities. I mean, if it can heal gangrene and impetigo, but I don't really know what it does.
It's an antimicrobial.
Antimicrobial. Okay.
So
okay.
if you have something that you need a mild antibiotic for often, garlic is enough. You don't want to take it every day for over 30 days, as far as I understand. That's my understanding, because then you could maybe be combating some good guys, because it's an antimicrobial. So you want to use it wisely and for as little time as necessary. But it can be used topically and it can be used internally.
Okay. And how many days did you use it on your wolf bite?
Oh. My wolf wound with gangrene.
Yeah.
I think it was only like 7 days, 6 days.
Oh.
It wasn't long. No, not at all.
Wow.
Because by that night, the smell was completely gone. It smelled like nothing by the night.
That is just insane. And so cool at the same time.
I know. Especially if you don't say the sanctuary part. You can, when you guys retell this story, you can just say wolf bite, gangrene, leave out all the boring stuff. Wild garlic, put some forest in there.
Yeah. Wow, that is so cool. Oh man. Okay. An incredible story. And I think for any listener out there who might be in a similar situation, you never know.
There might be one.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, I live in Georgia. A friend of mine got a possum bite. And it worked really well for her possum bite too.
Okay.
So.
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, there's a lot of possums in Texas too. They're all over the place, and man, are they mangy.
Poor little possums. Poor baby possums.
Yeah. No joke. Well, Bethany, this has been so incredible to hear your story, and thank you for sharing your story and your son's story. It's so beautiful, and I hope it's inspired some of our listeners. If there is any last comment or piece of wisdom that you want to share, what would you like to add?
Well, I would love to share, or maybe just reiterate that your root cause is not mold, it's not Lyme, it's not diabetes, it's a disconnect from nature. And I know that sounds so simple and so ridiculous, but that world out there was made for us. And we've only been living in this world for 200 years and only in this world for like 50. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't hurt to try. And it's free. So you can buy different groceries and you can spend your time differently. And I'll be believing for you, even if you can't right now.
Thank you. Thank you for such a beautiful closing. Where can our listeners find you?
We have a website that my husband, who works full-time, works very hard on. He created it. He's a genius. He created it and he is trying to get the whole protocol up there so people don't have to use Facebook. That's going to happen in the future. Some of it is up there now. So that's VanderHarstHomestead.com. And then our contact information is on there. If you wanted to email me, I welcome emails. And you can join the group and you can ask questions. I have an amazing, beautiful, wonderful admin, my friend Brittany. So we're always going to be able to help you and answer your questions at no cost, assist you for no cost. We will have the group coaching, which will be affordable starting in January, and we will have some scholarships available. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Perfect. Okay. Well, ma'am, listeners, thank you for coming along on this really interesting and touching story that Bethany shared. We want to remind you that if you want to follow Corey, she is at For Nutrient Sake on Instagram. I am Christine at Nourish the Littles, and the podcast is Modern Ancestral Mamas at Modern Ancestral Mamas on Gmail. You can also find us on YouTube. And you can go and comment on YouTube and we will respond, and you can watch us. And unfortunately, Corey could not get her internet working for this, but this is what happens when you live in rural Georgia. She will most definitely join us for the next episode. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and we'll see you guys next time. Okay, bye.